Welcome to Secura Law Experience. I'm Luis Elizalde, founder of Secura Law. I'm here with
Eduardo Borgard.
Welcome. Good morning. Good afternoon, Hong Kong. Now, today episode we're gonna talk about something that almost all the clients and brokers always ask: why, or it is better to get a trust fideicomiso, or is better to get a corporation, a Mexican corporation, to acquire real estate? To keep it simple, no, let's Eduardo answer that.
Yeah. Well, for this topic, I know there will be a lot of people that like just a yes or no answer. But to be honest, and sometimes we get hate about this, we always say it depends. And why is that? Is because we have a lot of different items that come into play in order to give you a specific answer. Because it's not a white or black thing that one is better than the other. It depends on what you want, what are your needs, your plans in a short term, mid, and long. Because we may say that the trust is the ideal way and the better way and maybe the cheapest and fastest, but if you are looking for a different thing, let's say to start a business or to build and deduct taxes of the construction, it has a lot of variables that come into play in order to give you the specifics. So the answer is it depends on each client.
Yes, correct, exactly. But the idea, if they are seeing this, they have a most specific, or what I'm trying to say at the beginning is that keep it simple is like, if you are looking, of course, there is a lot of variables, but if you're looking to do business in Mexico, if you're going to acquire a property, if you're going to do business, get a Mexican corporation. That's it. Very simple. If you are going to have a second home just for the winter, go for the trust. Fideicomiso is going to be easier, faster, and it's really good. That's the simple idea. Of course, we're going to talk about the variables that Eduardo is talking about. Most important, if you have a business plan or an idea in the future, what to do, we can talk about that little things that make the huge difference on your decision. So I think let's speak first, why the trust? Why the return? No, why the fideicomiso?
Well, before I get to that, sometimes I've seen clients with a mixture of both sides needed at the moment, right? Because I've seen clients that want to have the property fast, which will be with a fideicomiso. That's the fastest way. But they also want to do business in the short term. So in that specific scenario, we have to look and set up the priorities. What is your priority? Do you want to close this fast and get your property fast? Or do you want to put it in or create the corporation as your priority and then put it in? So that is the mixture. But in order to tell you, for example, that the fideicomiso, in the fideicomiso category, we have like the people that want to close fast, because the benefit over the Mexican corporation of the trust is that we can do it in 45 days?
I think less.
For a constitution?
Yeah, could be less
fast.
than 45 days. But that depends more on the permit, the banks, that kind of little things.
But it's much, much faster than doing it with a Mexican corporation, because the Mexican corporation, the setting up is not the lengthy part. The lengthy part is put it up and running and working, because once you create it, it's not just that. You have to go and register with the tax ID. You have to get accountants, you have to get declarations in order to start it up, open the bank account, and that takes much more than 30 to 45 days.
For sure.
At least 90.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's quick, right?
Yes.
So one point for the trust is the time frame to create it.
Totally. And also, the one of the benefits that I always say that why to use the trust is first, at the end, or something that some clients ask is that they can find their property really easy. And I said no, because the property at the end is at the name of the bank. You are the owner. You are the one that has to instruct the bank everything that you want to do with the property. That means that no one can touch your property. And also, if you review your property in the public registry, or you're trying to get the documents of that property directly in the public registry, is gonna be really hard for the people that are looking that without knowing the exact folio number of your title. So that's the first thing. That is like another filter to secure that your property is perfect, like no problem at all. And the second one is that you don't need a will, because in the trust you appoint the substitute beneficiary directly. So in something happened to you through the death certificate, reach the bank, reach the notary, reach us, everything could be really, really fast. 1 month, and that's it. You know, your heirs or substitute beneficiary is going to get the property in less than a month. In the other side, with a will, it could take around 6 months to 1 year to get that property. So that's one of the benefits. And also the cost. Could say that the cost looks like could be expensive, around $500 per year. I don't think it's that expensive, because these are restricted zone permit, no, trust. And because of that name, the cost is very cheap. For a Mexican that want to have a trust for their houses or
assets,
or any kind of asset, or more real estate assets, if they want that in a trust, the name of the trust change, and the cost is expensive, like $4,000 per year, $5,000 per year. That depends how many properties did you put on the trust. However, a trust for a Mexican is very expensive, and you have the same benefits of that trust to cover your property for $500, per year. So it's really, from my point of view, it's really cheap, really good. And that the benefits of a trust is you're going to acquire only one house, your winter house, the variables that we were talking about. And I think that's the benefit of the trust. What you can say?
I think about that, in order to really see the benefit or the difference, is that we have to compare it with the Mexican corporation. You said that for maintenance fees for the trust every year, it's around 500 US.
Mm-hmm.
With the Mexican corporation, you don't have the one obligation of just paying the bank. With the Mexican corporation, you have several obligations, and you have to address them with different people. So it's a more difficult matter, if you would, to handle, because first of all, you have to hire an attorney every year to make the shareholders meeting every year, mandatory by law. And then you have to hire an accountant year round to make the monthly and annual declarations.
I have to say something right now, because years ago, like 10 years ago, it was very easy that your broker, your attorney, anyone or everybody told you, hey, go with the corporation. It's very easy to get a corporation, and you don't have to pay a trust. That was the advice that some brokers gave to the client. Right now, don't do that. Because in that moment, the Mexican government wasn't that, how can I say it?
Focused on
Perfect.
taxing?
Exactly. Focus on taxing Mexican corporation. Right now, all the regulations are really good, because you can be sure that all the corporations are good. They are formalized like by law. Everything is done correctly right now. That means that you need an accountant. Why? The IRS, you have to make monthly statements, monthly payment of taxes. Or if you only have your house, you have to declare every month Zero, and you need an accountant to do that. So that means that with a corporation, it's gonna cost more than 500 per year.
Yeah.
You know, hey, I can get a really cheap accountant. Okay, you can get a really cheap accountant, but what happens is you never declare that. If they don't do the monthly statements, your corporation is not gonna be good. And as soon as you try to open the bank account, it's not gonna be possible. But because you need like a certificate of good standing that you have in US. If you don't have that, you cannot open the bank account. So everything right now is harder with the corporation. That from my point of view is good because everything is doing by the book. The government is following all these kind of corporations and they are doing a really good job. So I think that you have to consider that if you're looking to have you have an advice, get a corporation, it's easier than a trust. Not true. But if you're looking to do business, to do more than just acquire a property in Mexico, a corporation could be a really good option, but you have to consider these little points.
Yeah, at the end of the day, what you want if you're just here for a vacation or for a property investment is to have less responsibilities as possible. So you just come, enjoy it, like you said, like your winter home, right?
Yeah, exactly.
If you're going to open a corporation, you're gonna have to worry about it and hire several people to put it up to date, so you have no issues with the government, with the IRS, and with anyone, right? So if you're willing to put a piece of your mind into this year round, could be a good decision. If not, save yourself the trouble and just go with the trust, which is going to cost less, because at the end of the day, if you add up all the expenses from the corporation, the attorney, the shareholders meeting that you have to pay, the monthly declarations, doesn't matter if it's in zeros, the accountants are going to charge you anyway. It's going to be far more than 500 US every year.
Of course.
Plus, if they don't do their job, you have penalties, and it's going to be a big snowball if you don't handle it correctly. So
Exactly.
for your peace of mind, the easiest and fastest is the trust.
And look like we are talking more like, hey, go for the trust than the corporation. But no, we're trying to make you aware about why the trust, if you're only gonna get an investment, a property, winter home, that kind of thing, okay, the trust is gonna be a good idea. But for example, let's do the scenario more optimist for the corporation. For example, a client that bought a property of $1,500,000 and they want to rent that property to high-end clients that they are looking like Hollywood clients. That kind of people that they are looking at. They can put the trust at the name of this person, of this client, of this buyer, and then create a corporation to run the business, to rent the house. Because it's not going to be Airbnb. You don't rent a house of $1,500,000 in Airbnb. You have a platform that is going to help you to get that kind of client that you're looking for. So the one that is going to run the business is your corporation. And the trust is just to ensure that the property is free of any liability. So in that case, a corporation is a really good idea. Looks like it's too expensive to have the corporation and the trust. But looking for a really good business and a wise business decision, you separate your property, your investment, from the business that you are running with that property. So in that case, a corporation, sounds really good. Something happened. Let's say
Somebody sue you, right, on your corporation, something?
You close the corporation. That's it. Very simple. Of course, you have to solve that problem, but it's not something that is going to affect your property. So in that case, sounds really good, the corporation. The idea that we're talking about, that was one example. And the other example is that we have clients that they don't only bought one property. They bought like 5, 6, 7 units. So in that case, makes sense. For example, the one that they're going to use normally, okay, put that in the trust. And the other 6, or the other 5, in a corporation. So with the with the profit or gain that you're gonna have to rent that 5 units, you can pay the expenses that we just said: attorneys, notary publics, accountants. You can pay that, and something that is really good is deductible. So you pay that with the gains. You don't pay taxes on that because it's deductible, that services, and all the repairs and everything that you made to the units. For example, if you go to Home Depot and buy, I don't know, 5 stoves, 5 microwave, that kind of things are deductible if you're doing it correctly, of course, because you need an invoice, or their name is factura. Then the correct name is CFDI. Everything is CFDI. So if you get the factura, it's like the normal way to say it, you can make deductible that. And don't forget to get that factura and send it to your accountant. Because with the simple ticket, not possible. If you're going to pay, hey, I have my American Express and I'm going to pay with my American Express and then I'm going to get that money from the corporation, it's not possible. Get a card from the corporation and pay through the card. Hey, I'm going to pay in pesos or in cash and then the corporation is going to give me the money back. Yes, it's possible, but it's not deductible. Don't pay more than 1,000 pesos in cash looking to get the reimbursable for your corporation and make deductible that. No, it's not possible. That is the little things or little details that we are saying that you have to consider with the corporation. They are really good if you run it properly and by the book, and it's something that is going to help you a lot. And then if you want to sell it, the property, also, no one is going to tell you, hey, you have to pay these taxes. You have to pay it, but it's with your accountant. It's not something like an obligation that normally the notary public is going to retain the taxes. No, in this case, it's through your accountant, and if you have all these facturas, you make a really big deduction. So corporation could be good. I don't give you a chance to speak. Sorry.
No worries. you are doing perfect.
No, so go ahead.
Basically, the amount of investment that you want to do is going to be more efficient with the corporation. That's exactly what Luis said. If you're investing more properties, you're going to pay much less if you do it with a corporation, because if you pay a trust for each unit, it's going to be very expensive. So you see how the scale basically goes on what actually you want to do. If you want to invest big in the properties, it'd be wiser to spend on the corporation, because at the long run it's going to be less money, and that money is going to be better spent because you can do more things for yourself in the future when you want to sell, when you want to deduct, when you want to do any of those things, instead of with the trust, right? That at the very front you will be spending more money, and you're not going to get the best bang for your buck than if you would with a corporation.
Exactly.
Right? Obviously, talking about this, we have to talk about the sales tax.
The capital gain tax.
Because there's a different way that gets managed, either if you have a corporation or with a trust, right? For example, with a trust, a good point for it is that you can apply for the tax exemption since you are a natural person. When you are with a corporation, our law, and I think in most places is, the main purpose of a corporation is to make business and money.
Exactly.
Therefore, the law doesn't allow them to exempt taxes as a natural person would, because you are in the law, and the government takes it as you're increasing your family wealth, and that way they allow you to, under certain circumstances, you skip sell tax, so you can increase and invest in a better property. That's the purpose and the soul of the trust when you get it as a natural person. So that is a benefit that you don't have with the corporation.
That you need some requirements. It's not like, okay, I have a trust, I can exempt. No, you need some requirement that we have in other videos. You can tell us about if you want to know more about this. You can send us a message. But yes, exactly. That's one of the most important thing when you are
Yeah.
selling with a trust.
Yeah.
And with the corporation.
With the corporation, you are allowed to get all the expenses and write them off, basically, if you do it correctly. That's other thing that Luis said. You have to get the proper advice from attorneys and from accountants, and you have to check that they do things correctly, because the one thing that always comes to mind is that when you have a corporation, you have to pay very close attention to it. Instead, with a trust, you can just forget about it and just
Totally.
pay,
Mm-hmm.
right? With a corporation, you have to be checking that the job is done correctly, because you can be paying your accountant for a lot of time, right? And they are supposedly doing the declarations in zeros, and you have everything. But then when you want to sell and you say, hey, I want to deduct all the expenses that I did through a 5-year period because I remodel, I purchased this, that, furniture, blah, blah, blah. And then they say, oh, no, we don't have the facturas. We just have you show them the invoices, but you never did the correct process to get the
Exactly.
factura and the invoice. So your accountant will say, no, that's not possible, right? So you're forfeiting the benefit that the corporation has.
Exactly.
So you have to be more careful and put more attention into it. And sometimes people that want to invest here, they just want a winter property. And they,
Yeah,
don't,
exactly.
and they don't want to do the job, because you want to have 2 lives, one there and one here.
Yeah, exactly. That's the most important. If they are looking to do business in Mexico, that is a really good idea to do business in Mexico. You have to invest. It's like any other place in the world, in any country. If you invest money, in this case, you are investing to have a correct corporation, the accountant, people around that corporation. To make this work, you have to invest. At the end, long run, it's going to be a benefit for you, because all that investments are deductible. You have to look for people that can give you facturas that they will not cancel. That's another issue. So it's good that you have a corporation, that you do your homework, invest, get this kind of podcast to hear about this, and to be aware that you're going to invest a little money at the beginning, but at the end it's going to be a really good benefit. In 2-3 years, you decide to sell. You have your factura, you have your business plan, you have your idea how it's gonna do everything. At the end, you're gonna save a lot of money. If you invest 10,000 US, you are gonna save, let's say, 100. Something like that. It's not like a rule, but I'm pretty sure that if you are doing that, it's gonna be a really good benefit in the long run.
Yeah, I think the key word, you just said it. If we could highlight it here, it's business plan.
Yeah, business plan.
At the end of the day, you have to plan things ahead to make the best decisions. If you don't do and you just go with the flow, there's a highly chance that you're going to regret that decision, because when you want to take the next step, you're not going to have the proper requirements to do what you want and save the most amount of money. Because at the end of the day, when you're investing, you want to have the best income without all the possible taxes and expenses that may cost you that decision, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so at the end, like, long story short about this episode is that you want to be winter home, enjoy the paradise, like, forget about everything, go with the trust. It's very easy, very simple. Something I just remember, if you don't pay the trust, also something that you don't have to worry, hey, someone is going to take my property. No one is going to take your property, not even the bank. Why? Because, of course, the bank is looking that you pay every year your trust. But what's happening if you don't pay? After 5 years that you don't pay and you decide to sell the house, what do you think you have to do? Call the bank, because you need to send an instruction letter. And in that moment, the bank is going to say, perfect. Yes, I will sign anything that you said, but you have to pay the 5 years that you didn't pay. So The bank is not worried that you don't pay in that moment because they know that as soon as you want to sell, you have to contact them. As soon as you need something from the bank, the first thing that you need to do to make it happen is to pay the fees. That's very simple. But the trust is the easy way to forget and enjoy the paradise. Corporation,
Is if you want to basically have a second life here, that a lot of people
Exactly.
want, right?
Perfect.
But they have to be informed. That's the most important part, so you can make the best decision.
yeah, exactly. Second life here, that's perfect because you can get your immigration document, you can get everything through your corporation, and you are making business. That was a perfect example. So you have it there. It's just a little advice that you can get from us. If you want more, contact us. It was a pleasure. Take care.
Thank you guys.
Bye.